Hey y'all, welcome back to the Dancing Italian Urban Farm, or welcome if you are new. My name is Leslie, and today, well, we're making rolls. You're going to start by heating up your butter and milk mixture in a saucepan. And you just want to heat that up on a low, medium low heat until the butter is starting to melt. You don't want to get it too hot. You do also want to add some sugar to this because this is what is going to feed your yeast. Now I'm going to go ahead and warn you. My yeast is old and it does not bloom the way that you want it to. Okay, that I just added was a little bit of salt because that is what the directions told me to do. I got this recipe out of the Better Homes and Gardens um, recipe book, which, if it's still available, I will link it down below for you. Anyway, you want to heat this up until your butter melts or just begins to melt, really. And then you're going to take it off of the stove and you're going to stir it until your butter melts into your milk, sugar, and salt mixture. You do want to stir it to kind of help incorporate the sugar and the salt and the butter, and also to help keep your milk from scalding on the bottom. You definitely don't want that. You want to use a candy thermometer in order to measure the temperature because you don't want it to get above about 120 to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Because if it does, then it will kill your yeast. It'll be too hot for your yeast. So you want to make sure that you have it at the right temp. When it comes up to temperature, you want to remove it from the heat. Now we're going to come over to my mixer and I am going to add in my flour, about 1 cup of flour, maybe 1.5. You're going to add this into the bowl of the mixer. I was struggling here for a minute, y'all. Just bear with me because I am, yeah, a new kitchen gadget. Still learning the ins and outs. So it's a cup and a half of flour, and then you're going to put in your yeast. You want one package of yeast, or if you have it in the bulk jar, it is 2.5 teaspoons. That's me looking at the jar to make sure that I measure it correctly. Now, like I said, my yeast was old, so it does not bloom the way that it really should. It does bubble a little bit, but I don't get the rise out of my rolls that I would have liked. So I will be making, they still tasted amazing. So this is me just mixing my mixture together. I'm going to pour it into the flour and yeast. And then I am going to give that a little stir together. I put the dough hook on. This was probably not the correct thing to use at this point. I probably should have started with the paddle. But like I said, new kitchen gadget, I'm still learning. So please bear with me on that. Anyway, I'm going to stir this together and just until the flour is incorporated, and then I'm going to let it sit for about 10-15 minutes. I think you can leave it for up to 30 minutes just to see, or not to see, but to have your yeast bloom. You want those bubbles to come on top. Now, I do have a few bubbles. The flour was not all incorporated. Like I said, I probably should have used a paddle or just mixed it by hand. But anyway, there you have it. Now, once it's done this, we're going to add the rest of the ingredients to the mixture. So I'm going to put my dough hook back down and I'm going to turn it on rather low. I am going to put my little funnel lid on, and I'm going to incorporate the rest of the flour. Now, I did pre-measure out the flour according to the recipe. Like I said, I will link the cookbook for you in the description if it is still available, which I think it is. So you should be able to get it. But yeah, I'm also going to add an egg. I used a duck egg, but you can just use a chicken egg. I have to be bougie sometimes. And I have a dance student who raises ducks, and she brings me duck eggs every once in a while. And I truly appreciate that because I love baking with them. They are amazing for baking. Anyway, I'm going to continue adding my flour. And I'm just going to dump the rest of it in at this point. I'm going to let it continue to knead with that dough hook, mix and knead with that dough hook. And I do that for, I don't know, it's like 5 to 10 minutes that I let it just knead. I probably should have let it go a little bit longer. The dough ball didn't come together quite like I wanted it to, but there you have it. I also scrape down the sides of the bowl to get the flour to get incorporated into the bread dough. So that is also something that you want to keep in mind when you are making this recipe. I needed to turn it up and I turned it up too much. And it was jumping, and I think that was just because it was starting to form that ball. So I turned it back down because it scared me a little bit. But now I know that that is just what happens with a KitchenAid stand mixer. And I turned it off probably a little sooner than I should have, but there you have it. After you finish kneading the dough, you want to put it into an oiled bowl and let it rise. Now, I did forget to oil my bowl, probably because I was trying to do 900 things at the same time, as we all are we not? Anyway, you do want to cover it and let it rise for an hour because you want it to double in size. Like I said, my yeast was old. It did not rise as much as I wanted it to. So you'll see that in a minute when I show you it risen. I am going to put a towel over this bowl, I promise. I was trying to clean my hands off because I had bread dough all over them. And there's the towel. You're just going to let it rise, like I said, for an hour. Then we are going to turn it out onto a lightly floured surface. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to punch it down, and then we're going to turn it out onto a lightly floured surface. Say that 3 times fast. Like I said, I did not oil it, so it was a little tough to get out, but I managed. I did wind up getting my little bowl scraper that I have and kind of scraping the rest of the dough out. You can avoid that if you actually oil your bowl like you're supposed to. But we live and we learn. And the rolls still turned out fantastic. They tasted really good. They didn't rise as much as I wanted them to, but they still tasted great. Anyway, I'm reading the recipe here. That's my cookbook right there that you see on the counter beside me. And I have the October Breast Cancer Awareness Limited Edition. So that's why mine's pink. If you ever see it, most of the time they're red. Anyway, you're going to divide your dough into 2 balls, and then you're going to cover them and let them rest. I believe it's for 10 minutes, but it may be 30. I can't remember. I'll link the recipe. I'll link the cookbook. I promise I will. If I don't, someone call me out. I will do it. So I'm going to get a baking dish out. I don't remember the size. It's not a 9 by 13. It's slightly smaller than that. 8 by 12, maybe. Anyway, I'm going to spray it with my little oil sprayer that you pump. The cap broke, but you need the cap in order to create the what's the word I'm looking for? Y'all are probably screaming it at me right now. Pressure. That's the word. Anyway, in order to create the pressure inside the bottle to make the oil spray. So it's not aerosol. I don't remember why I walked into the living room, but I did. I'm sure there was a reason. Oh, I had to blow my nose. That's what it was. And I'm like, oh yeah, wash your hands. Putting my glasses back on. Okay. So now we are going to make our rolls. So we're going to divide the dough. Okay, so it says that it makes 12 rolls. The rolls are really small, but they are dinner rolls. They're not sandwich rolls, they're dinner rolls. I did not cut these very well my rolls were not all the same size, but I did the best I could. So I cut them and then I rolled them into balls. This is me counting, trying to realize why I don't have the correct number of pieces of dough, but I'm just rolling with it. So I'm just going to roll them into. I tried to do that counter trick where you roll it with your caged hand on the surface. And yeah, I'm going to cut a little bit off of that one. It was a little too big. I think I go back to just rolling them between my hands, but I don't remember. Because the time span between when I filmed this and when I'm voicing it over, eh, it was a little while. I'm going to cut some off of this one. You can tell they're not all the same size, guys, but this is okay. It's okay that they're not all the same size. I promise you that it is totally okay. I'm trying to make them as close to the same size as possible. There we go. Cutting some off that one because it was a little on the big side. There. I do wind up with 12 rolls from this first dough ball and 12 from the second. So I do wind up with 24 rolls, which is what you're supposed to wind up with. I think I said 12 before. No, it's 24. You're supposed to have 24 dinner rolls. I think the next time I make these, I think I'm just going to make them bigger and just make 12. But maybe I won't. I don't know. Maybe I'll weigh the dough ball out and then weigh out each ball so that they're all the same. I don't know. It just depends. I'm on Thanksgiving break right now, so there's no telling what's going to happen with my time. I actually have time to measure out stuff like that. Whereas most of the time during a regular work week, I don't. I just do the best I can. And I wanted to make homemade rolls. So I did that one. I got my 6 out of that side. And I'm just putting them in this baking dish. There are instructions attached to this recipe in the cookbook to make different shaped rolls. You can make like the, what do they call them? Butterhorn. Is that what they call them? Maybe. They're kind of like crescent. They're ones where you cut them into triangles and you roll them up, kind of like the Pillsbury rolls. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, they have instructions for that, for the clover leaves, for just several different shapes that you can make using the same dough. Okay, there's my 24 rolls. Now I'm going to cover them again with my little towel and I'm going to let them rise for another 30 minutes. And there they are. They did not rise very much. I mean, they did because they're now touching. Most of them are, whereas they weren't before. But they didn't rise as much as I would have liked for them to. Anyway, you're going to put them in a 375-degree oven and you're going to bake them for 12 to 15 minutes, I believe is what the recipe said. It could have been 15 to 18. Don't quote me. Just follow the recipe. Okay? Please follow the recipe. And there they are, fresh out of the oven. They were delicious.